This year marks the 10th year of operations for our charity, the Winter Night Shelter Milton Keynes. For the last decade, we've been providing emergency accommodation for rough sleepers during the coldest months of the year to protect them from the risk of death through exposure, and providing welfare help to enable them to move on and rebuild their lives. We want to show you what that looks like.
The original aim of the charity was to save people from the risk of death from exposure in the coldest months of the year. But we found that as people came into the Winter Night Shelter, we started to build a relationship with them, and we found that we developed a secondary purpose, which was to help them out of their current situation into longer term accommodation. Well, it started because the YMCA and the council realised there was a growing problem of homelessness in Milton Keynes. In 2016 we got access and use of the old bus station, which we were using on a very short-term temporary arrangement initially. In 2018 we refurbished it and relaunched it as Unity Park Station, as a multi-purpose facility where we worked with other partners who were also providing support services to the homeless and the vulnerable. And then also around that time we shifted from 7 venues each week to 14, so we were operating 2 each night with 15 guests in each one. In the early years there were an awful lot of people with drink problems. There's then a shift over time to more drug-related issues, and then more recently it's been a lot more about family breakdown and mental health issues. There was one person who was in the night shelter for multiple years. He came in each winter. So he moved in, the council provided him with accommodation, but he didn't know how to turn on the heating. And so he did what came naturally, how he always knew that when he was cold, this is exactly what he did. He took some firewood and he built a fire in the middle of the living area and set fire to it. So he was warm enough. So fortunately, he didn't do too much damage to the building, but it brought home to me the need to provide support and help to help people get to grips with how to live life in indoor accommodation.
Helping the homeless isn't just about serving up food and cups of tea. That helps their today, but it doesn't change their tomorrow. Our welfare team get to know each individual to know exactly the type of support they need to help them climb up from rock bottom towards a meaningful future.
We have some characters that come into the Winter Night Shelter. Many of them grow actually when they come in, because they're quite damaged, some of the people, when they first arrive at our door. They're cold, they're hungry. And that changes, and you see their personalities shine.
My name's Carl, I'm 43. Basically, I came to be at the night shelter about 18 months ago. I had a mental breakdown. I found myself kicked out of my house. I'm married with 2 children and a mortgage. I was working for the council as a customer service manager. I spent a year sofa surfing and starting to smoke crack cocaine and heroin. And my life completely unravelled. And then I went to the council one day in utter desperation, to be perfectly honest, floods of tears, and they sent me down to the night shelter. This is when I met Cassie, the welfare manager, and I sort of broke down. I just fell to pieces, had a really good chat with her, and straight away, right from day one, all the volunteers made me feel so wanted all of a sudden. It's something that I'd lost, if you like, and felt so alone, and then all of a sudden I've got people that care, that do actually care, that want to help you, and it was just such an amazing experience.
My name's Cookie Monster, that's what my nickname is. The Winter Night Shelter has been fantastic. The staff are awesome, and it's been a good, safe, clean atmosphere over Christmas. It's nice to have a clean shower, clean clothes, gives you a bit of pride back.
I worked a really good job, but Mum got poorly. She was calling me back. Carers kept saying, "Can you come home, can you come home?" Kept going home. After 6 months they didn't renew my contract, and then Mum got a massive stroke. My sister's the power of attorney, next of kin. She said we had feud. She said, okay, you need to get out now. Ended up at Morrison's Westcroft car park in the car for 19 days. My friend, she said, get round here. So I went and stayed there. She said she volunteers at the winter shelter. She said, you need to go there. So the welfare manager, Kathy, as soon as I walked through the door 2 weeks ago, I'd sent her an email. Didn't know if she was going to get it, or I didn't even expect anything. I walked in crying because everyone was so welcoming, and I walked in and she came straight out of her office. She knew who I was. She said, are you Anne-Marie? I was like, yeah, I am. And then she was like, come on. And she got me straight in to talk to one of her colleagues. And that was probably, 2:00 in the afternoon. And she said, come back at 5, and I had somewhere to sleep.
I had a relationship breakdown. So yeah, I lost my missus and my son and sort of separated from them. And then sort of the knock-on effect with that is I lost contact with my mum and family and stuff, so I've sort of become quite isolated, on my own. I think it's brilliant what it does for the homeless, because I mean, a lot of people, I was quite desperate before I came here. I didn't really know where to go or what to do, and it's sort of given me a bit of motivation to sort of look for better things. They do look after you really well. I mean, and it's quite good as well, because if you're used to sort of living rough and all the rest of it, your schedule, you haven't really got a schedule, you're up and down. This sort of gets you back in more of a routine.
There are many reasons that people come to Unity Park. Some people are, say, just new to homeless. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people have been evicted from their flats. And we help and support them in any way we can, even if it means helping them to return back to their families. We also look at all aspects of the reasons that they are homeless and what services we can support them with. Anybody that comes through the door can use our washing machines, can have food, tea, coffee, and just someone to talk to. So last year was quite successful. We closed our doors in March. Out of the 100 assessments that I'd carried out, 73 men and 8 women were successfully housed at the end of the season. The winter night shelter, for a lot of people, it is the last place. There is nowhere else to go. So they'll come to us, and then they realise actually that we're very successful at turning people's lives around. We have addiction counsellors that come in to help. We have a human givens therapist that comes in to help. So the idea is to look at someone as an individual and then work a support package around them. So ideally at the end of it, we will either have them housed and working, or in a specific supported living service that will carry on with the support that we've been given. The best thing about my job is actually being able to support these people and make changes to their lives. It's great to see somebody that comes back after we've housed them and they've moved on and they're happy and things are in the right place for them. Because without us, a lot of these people would still be on the streets.
We work in partnership with you, the people of Milton Keynes. Between our evening cafe and our overnight venues, there are hundreds of you who volunteer to make it happen. You make meals, beds, countless cups of tea. You provide company and support. You play Scrabble, you take the night watch, you make the breakfast, do the laundry and pack down the beds. We couldn't do it without you.
I first got interested in night shelter by doing some work with Crisis in London through my own job, and there was a lawyer who sticks in my mind who said that we're all sort of 3 pay packets away from being homeless. And that really struck a chord with me. It just seems that there's stereotypes which people attribute to homeless people, which just isn't true. It's in my experience through working with night shelter, I've found that they're just ordinary people that have just hit a blip in their life and they just need a helping hand. Winter night shelter to me is it's an opportunity to help and to give something back and to provide a warm, safe environment to somebody. And I think if I was in that situation, I'd like to think that there was somebody there that would be prepared to help me in the same way, to provide me with the basics of an evening meal, a bed and some support.
It's my first year volunteering, so actually we fit in and just do what we need to do. So I've made beds, but predominantly I've been in the kitchen, either serving, washing up, or tonight helping with the cooking. Well, it's all been a bit of an eye-opener for me. So in terms of how the winter night shelter helps the homeless, I think it's just a really nice atmosphere for them. It's a nice place with friendly volunteers. And I guess, the fact that we cook for them something different every night, they chat, they play games. It's not what I imagined at all.
I've been volunteering for, this is my second year, coming to the end of my second year with the Winter Night Shelter. This year I've been cooking dinner. It gives an environment that allows people to socialise in a warm setting, eat lovely food, communicate and enjoy a peaceful night's sleep, I guess, which is quite difficult for those that are here. For me personally, I was homeless at one stage in my life, and I appreciate what opportunities are created by programs like the Winter Night Shelter. You are given an environment where you can actually be a normal person, pick yourself up and get the right help to move yourself on.
This year, 2020, has been like no other, with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. We had to close our accommodation early before the nationwide lockdown began on 23rd of March and urgently find our homeless guests a safe place to stay. In the weeks and months that followed, we've retained staff and volunteers, and we've been providing emergency food relief and welfare support to those who had no other source of help.
Last week we fed 66 people, so that was 455 meals went out. A lot of those people as well are because they're self-employed, so they don't have access again to the benefits that are available to other people. So they are actually going without as well. So we are supporting those families at the same time.
My hope for the future is that we'll be able to provide more comprehensive services to support more and more different types of homeless and rough sleepers. And then in the longer term, that we work towards providing more long-term accommodation.
The concerns I've got for the homeless at the moment is that there's still not enough accommodation to meet the needs, because it must be quite scary to be finding you're suddenly going to be homeless in a month's time. But I think the numbers are going to rise. I'm hoping we can meet that need in the winter, but I think even we might struggle.
We anticipate high levels of need this winter as we seek to support the homeless and vulnerable in a way that is safe for our guests, staff and volunteers. We rely heavily on kind donations from individuals, businesses and fundraising. If you're not able to give yourself, there are endless ways you can support us and raise awareness. The most helpful way you can support us is through small, regular giving. This enables us to provide consistent help for people beyond the current winter. Would you consider partnering with us to give £10 a month or any amount that you feel able to? You can do this through our website. Thank you for standing with us.